Hello, welcome everybody. Good to see you guys today. Welcome to today's session. My name is Jeremy. I'm with Made Management. I'm the owner operator of the Worldwide Talent Management Company. And I am excited to bring you guys a special guest on today who's going to talk to us about modeling and modeling techniques and everything that we need to know to get signed to a modeling representative, whether it be a manager or an agent. She's had a ton of experience in the industry, and I'm going to let her share all that with you guys here. So, without any further ado, here is Suzanne. Thank you for joining us today. Go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody if you don't mind.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Suzanne von Schack. I have been in this business forever and ever. And actually, I started pretty much the way you guys started. I started, although we didn't have online classes back in the day, but I started with a group, which was a school, and learned everything that I could, runway, print. I really didn't get to the acting until after I had moved to New York, but now I'm very heavily involved in the acting and also producing my own films. So you're in a good spot, learning from people who've been around the block a few times like I have, so we can, share information. So one of the things I'd like to do is tell you about a book that I wrote. And then also I want you to plug into my Instagram and Facebook, because I just did produce a film starring myself and Frank Stallone, who is Sylvester Stallone's brother. So I've got a lot of posts on my Instagram and Facebook right now from things that I've been doing. So I want you to check it out. So first of all, this is my book called Modeling Success. You have the question, I have the answer. Of course, you're going to ask me a lot of questions at the end, and that's pretty much what my book is based on. All the questions that everybody's asked me over the years. And then it kind of unravels and tells the story. But this is available on Amazon. It is a bestseller. It's still, it's been out for a couple of years, but it's still in the top 100 in fashion models. So it's doing very, very well. So all you have to do is punch in modeling success, and it's got a wealth of information. When I was starting, I came from a little small farm town in Wisconsin, and there was nothing to give me a format of what I should do or where I should go. All I did was I had a dream. I had a dream and I wanted to do it. And I actually did it by moving out of Wisconsin and going to Florida, and from Florida to New York. And then Givenchy discovered me. And then I went to Paris and Milan. And, one step led to another. But this book basically will tell you all the steps of how to get from point A to point B and continue on. All right. So that's one thing I wanted to share with you. The other thing I wanted to share with you is for you, even though all of you are interested in being models, and that's where I started too. I wanted to be a model. Everybody told me, oh, you're tall, you've got high cheekbones, you should be a model. And so I started kind of taking that on and wearing it like a coat and saying, yeah, I should be a model. So, but I never thought about acting. I never thought about singing, even though I sang. I used to, perform and sing at school and plays and things like that. I never thought of me being a singer. I guess because nobody told me, oh, you should be a singer. So I can carry a tune and I've written music, but I don't want you guys to just stop with modeling. And this is what I'm telling you, is to broaden your horizons and to do it all, especially while you're young, especially while you're under your parents' roof, where, you don't have to pay for rent. You don't have to pay for a mortgage. You don't have to pay for a car. Right now you're being taken care of. And as long as your family supports your dreams, you should take advantage of as many classes as you can and learn as much as you can. The business has changed a lot from when I first started. when I first started, you could be quote unquote a model and make a very good living at it. Today, there are national markets, international markets, and then regional markets. So I live in Los Angeles. I live in the United States. So I know that some of you are not from the United States, but we have Los Angeles, Chicago, Dallas. Those are regional markets. You can work in those markets, but you really need to do other things as well to supplement the income. And acting is a great way of doing that. Commercials, great way of doing that. So I have even gone even further, which I didn't know I could really write. And somebody challenged me and said, you should just write your own short film. Because I had been in the acting business, and then kind of dropped out of it because I became the face of a company for Missy clothing, and I was traveling all over the United States doing that. And so I had kind of stopped the acting. And he said, oh, if you want to jump back in, and get new film on yourself, write a film for yourself and star in it and put it in film festivals. And I never thought about doing that. And I thought, I don't know if I can write. Well, guess what? I wrote a 10-minute short, starred in it, and it won a lot of awards at film festivals. And the first one that I did won a Silver Telly Award. The second one won a Gold Telly Award. They're very beautiful. They're next, as far as Oscars go, this one, for somebody who's starting out in the business, if you get one of these, it's very recognizable and gives you a lot of credibility in the business. So, I mean, if I can do it, you guys can do it. So always prepare for the next step. And right now, you guys can do it all because you're living at home, and, just take as many classes as you can. Well, today we are really talking about modeling. And there are certain tools that I want to talk to you about that you should have as far as a model. So the first thing you need to do is you need pictures, because you can't really get a job without showing how you photograph, and also to have a calling card that you leave behind. So I'm going to show you some examples of Z cards that I put together for some of the models I've worked with. So it's usually a form like this with a headshot on the front, your name at the bottom, and 4 pictures on the back. Here's another one of a guy. He was pretty athletic, so on the back he wanted to kind of do some athletic things, but then he also showed himself in a suit. So in 5 pictures, what you want to do is to kind of give the client or an agent that you're pursuing an idea of how to market you. Now, like, this girl's very, very thin, and she's not great in bathing suits, so we didn't put any bathing suits on her card. However, this girl has just the right body for bathing suits and has long legs. So we wanted to feature her in a lot of these type of things. So you are going to need a Z card. That's number 1. And the other thing is you're going to need to learn how to walk to do the runway. I'm going to show you some of that today, and then I'd also like to critique. Maybe have a couple of you walk for me, and then I'll critique you. So we're going to work on that. Just hold on a minute. I want to get my portfolio. I forgot to bring that out. I want to show you some things in the portfolio. Do any of you have a portfolio? Do any of you have a portfolio? Do any of you have any of you taken pictures yet? Yes, good, good. Okay. So taking pictures is just good all around. I mean, if you can just find somebody and learn how to pose in front of a camera and then look at the pictures afterwards, just even if it's just with an iPhone and you put a look together and you just practice, it's invaluable. Because if you don't know how to move in front of a camera and you get a job, and you just stand there and you think that they're going to direct you, chances are they're going to probably not hire you again if you don't know how to move in front of a camera. And we're going to work on some of that today too. So this is called a portfolio. It's a black book, and in it are acetate sheets. And these, you put your pictures in between the acetate sheets. And so there are different types of modeling. There's anything to do with fashion. This is earrings, anything to do with anything, props, like clothing, and then earrings, jewelry, that's all fashion. This one is commercial print. It's commercial print because we're not advertising clothing, we're advertising the mall. So it's like two people who are props. We're shopping, we look like we're shopping. That's commercial print. So there's different types of print. This is a test shot, this one right here. And a test shot is something that you take for your portfolio to kind of just show people how you photograph. And that's what you guys would have a lot of in the beginning. And then as you work, maybe you'll get a cover of a magazine like that. These are catalog shots, and that's another type of modeling. Catalog shots are, it's pictures of clothing that people design and then they put it into a catalog and to sell. So a lot of the magazines that maybe your parents get in the mail, with pictures, and then you can order the clothing from it, that's catalog modeling. That is very lucrative. So there's fashion modeling, which would be editorial in magazines. Okay. And then there's the catalog. Catalog modeling pays very well. Editorial doesn't pay very much. Editorial is very prestigious, but it doesn't pay much. This was editorial, and it was in a magazine. And these are called tear sheets. They're called tear sheets because you tear them out of the magazine and you put the work in your book. The more you can show that you've done work, the better off it makes clients feel very comfortable. These were test shots. Just I had done my hair differently and curled it, and I wanted to show what it looked like curled. Now this is a classic. This one right here is classic commercial print because they made me look like a little German girl, if you could see. And we're really advertising the bratwurst. So I'm a prop to what we're selling. Whenever you're a prop to what you're selling, it's commercial print. Like if you're on a telephone and you're selling the telephone, your hands and your ear and everything else are props to the phone because that's what you're selling. That's commercial print. If you see people in a pool and they're bouncing a ball around and they're selling the above ground pool, that's commercial print because you're a prop to what you're selling. So that's the way to think about that. Let's see what else I can show you in here. Here are more tear sheets. Whoops, tear sheets here. So there are different types of modeling. There's, as I said, there's commercial print where you're being used as a prop. And then there's also the fashion print. And then there's other things like jewelry, but that's still fashion. So sunglasses would be fashion. The first look in my book here, I did it with a hat because I used to do a ton of hat modeling, ton of it. And I wanted people to see that I look good in hats. Some people look good in hats, some don't. I have a very long face, but when you put a hat on, it chops the face and it looks good. If you have a round face, some hats look good on you and some don't. So if you have a heart-shaped face where you have more of a pointed jaw, sometimes hats don't look good on you at all. So the longer your face, and then you cut off the hat, you cut this part off with the hat, sometimes the better you look. So you want to put in your portfolio pictures that are going to enhance you. Also, you want it on your Z card so that you can lead people to know what they should book you for. Like if you have a great bathing suit body, it should be on the card. If you look like a CEO, professional, and you look that type, like a GQ type, that should be on your Z card so that you can lead people in the direction. If you're athletic, then you should have, something athletic, within the athletic clothes, maybe holding a basketball or, actually running on the beach or hitting a volleyball, things like that. When you're posing in front of a camera, the camera adds weight to you, first of all. So if you have your arms straight to your body like this, it adds 20 pounds, 10 pounds on this side and 10 pounds on that side. So you always want to, here's a pose. You don't want to do this. You always want to have some kind of air between the side of your body and where your arms are. So that's why you see a lot of models with their hands on their hips or a hand in the pocket and down. But even when I have this hand down, I don't have it close to my body. I have some air in between here. So you can see a separation between my body and the arm. So yes, the poses that you make do count. They have to go with what you're wearing. I'm in jeans today, so it's more casual. So using the pockets or even using the back pockets, you want to use what you have to kind of show what you're wearing. You also want to have an attitude. Your attitude has to go with what you're wearing too. If I were in an evening gown, my whole attitude on my face, everything would change. Even the feeling of how I pose would change. But if I'm in jeans, I'm hanging out, you're a little bit more relaxed. So you want to emulate what you're wearing. Does that make sense to you? Okay. I see a couple other questions.
Yeah, so we had for us some questions, like he has a scar on his forehead. Like, does this matter if you have scars? Because I also have scar in my lips and in my eyebrows. So like all of those stuff, visible scars, what are the opinions about those? Because we can't really remove scars.
Right. Well, some of the makeup artists can do some filling with scars and sort of make it disappear. But the other thing is, in today's world, especially with digital photography, the retouching is so easy. None of us are perfect. Some of us have bumps on the side of our nose on one side versus the other side. And, that is maybe worse than a scar. But, that can all be retouched. So it's not a big deal. Sometimes over the years, I remember having a huge booking in New York, and all of a sudden I got like the biggest pimple on my face. And I used to run to the dermatologist and they would shoot it with cortisone and it would go away in a day or two. But sometimes you wake up with that, you don't have time. You're supposed to be at the booking. And back in the day, way back when I was modeling in New York, when I was young, we didn't have all of this digital new equipment that you have now. So it was really shot on film. And then the retouching was very expensive. It's not that way anymore. You know, with digital shots, you can just put it on the computer and go in, you know, with the tools and go, and it's gone. So it's not a big deal. But what I would do on your photos that you put in your portfolio, you should always have them that retouched, just so that the client can see, you know, what it looks like, because they might visually just look at you. It doesn't cost any money anymore either. On film, it may have made a bigger difference because it costs more money, but today's world, it doesn't cost any money at all. So I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, another question.
My question is, if you want to do runway modeling, like how old do you have to be and about how tall?
Okay, so if you start runway modeling very young, which I train many times kids that are 4 years old and up for runway. And there's kids fashion shows, there are teen fashion shows, and then there are adult fashion shows. When you are a kid model or a teen model, it's not as important. Your height is not as important. It's just important that you fit the clothes and you have a personality and that you are not shy and you can go out and you don't freeze and you can walk. So that doesn't come into play. However, when you get to be like 16, 17, 18, and you're getting to your full height capacity, and you're growing into, I mean, I know a lot of 16-year-olds that are already 5'9", and they've already grown to the height. Maybe they'll get a little bit taller, maybe not. But when you get older, for runway modeling specifically, the shortest I have seen is 5'8", 5'8.5". But even then, when they stand next to the girls that are 5'9", 5'10", and everybody puts on heels, they look short. So the rule of thumb is for runway 5'8" and above, 5'9" and up to 6 feet tall. So also for runway, as an adult runway, that I considered adult 16 and up, they like you to be a size 2'4". So that means that you have to have the specific measurements. And the best way to find out whether you're a size 2'4" is when you get to be that age. How old are you right now?
I'm 12, but I'm turning 13 this year.
Okay, you're 12. Okay, so, the height thing is not going to be relative to you. It really won't matter. But when you get to be 16, 17, 18, then height does come into play. Now, remember, I told you in the beginning that there are several different types of modeling. There's commercial print, there's fashion print, there's hosting, where you're on a red carpet and you're interviewing people. There's all different kinds of modeling. So if you don't get to be tall, like a runway model tall by the time you're 16, 17, 18, you can do commercial print. So the other thing you can do is catalog, because or store, working for store modeling, like Macy's, Nordstrom, some of the big box stores, they do their own fashion shows and they just take the clothing from off the rack. It's not couture designers, which want size 2'4". So then you can be, any size, because they also use plus sizes in the stores. They do petite modeling. I mean, I've known petite girls that have worked just as much as I did. So there's different, you just have to find where you fit. So let's say you turn 16, 17, and you're 5'6", 5'7". Well, guess what? The clothes from the store off the rack will fit you better than it would fit me. And I'm 5'10 and a half, 5'11", because I'm so tall that a lot of things off the rack don't quite fit me exactly right. I'm very long waisted, I've got long legs, I've got long arms. So you just have to find your niche. So it doesn't mean that you can't work. It doesn't mean that you aren't the right type for commercial print. You know, commercial print girls are usually shorter than runway models.
I'm currently 5'6".
Okay, so 5'6", you can do commercial print, you can work in the stores. You're only 12, you're still going to grow. You're still going to grow. You're not done yet. You might get to be 5'8", and then you could work both, you could do both. Okay, another question?
Hi. Yeah, we are in Germany. Gavit mostly speak German. He also understand, but speaking is a little bit different. So that's why I'm asking on behalf of him. And the question is, he is doing some sort of modeling, and he also has some set card, but he also loves boxing, and he's practicing it, or he's doing boxing as well. Does it make sense to have the photo shoot with boxing things? So, for example, I don't know, boxing gloves, the dress.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I even did one with boxing gloves once. You know, a long time ago. I did it in a black. I was young then, but I did it in a black one-piece suit, and I tied the jump rope around my waist, and I had the boxing gloves over my tied and, you know, like over my shoulder. And then I was up against an Everlast bag, you know. So, and I also did it with the gloves on. And basically the whole shot was to just show the form of my body. So I'm not great in bathing suits because I'm very long-waisted, but I did want to show that, you know, that I have a tiny waist and all of that. And so I did one of these shots, and I actually put it on my Zed card. So yes, he can do that. It would just show that he's athletic. It's a way to show another way of showing that he's athletic. You know, if he's into boxing versus volleyball, you know, same thing.
Just in case, because he's still 8 years old. So of course, with 8 years old, usually the boxing gloves are a little bit bigger. I don't know how good that will look with the frame, because he is, let's say, average height in his age, or let's say so far a good height, but not so bulky.
Well, you know, probably at 8 years old, a picture that would be better for him would be him in a bicycle.
Okay.
You know, like riding a bicycle, or on the beach in more likely to get booked for a job like that, for swimwear or something, than boxing, right?
Yeah.
So you got to think of your marketing too. That would be a very small market to do the boxing. And when I did it, it was more about showing body. For him, we want to show him, you know, maybe on a skateboard, doing things that boys do.
Yeah.
Because, you know, basically when they do skateboard shots, let me just show you. It's a commercial print type of thing where they're selling the skateboard. I did one of these a long time ago. And they have you get like this. Like, you know, there's no skateboard there, but they have you do these poses like that, right? Okay. And then what they do is after they get the shot, they superimpose the skateboard under your feet. Yeah. So the skateboard is never there, but they just cut out your picture and they put the skateboard underneath. He could be, you know, just with one foot on a skateboard and like going to do like this and looking off, looking behind himself. And that would be a great shot.
How can I find like a really good agent that's able to like offer me good jobs such as runway and like fashion modeling?
Okay, so that's one of the things I have in my book. How do you get an agent? So first of all, you're going to have some pictures. You can't just go in with nothing, because the camera, when when the camera and the light, when the light hits you, you know, they always say, oh, high cheekbones are great. The reason why high cheekbones are great is because the light hits and bounces off your bones. That's what makes people photogenic. Now, getting a compliment about, oh, you're so photogenic is really a sideways compliment, because what it means is you look better in pictures than you do in real life. That's what it means. You're photogenic, you look good in pictures, but in real life, yeah. So it's all about bone structure. You know, if you have a weak jaw, it's just not going to read well into the neck area. If you have really deep pockets here and no bones up here, you know, the bone up here reflects, the bone here reflects, the bone here reflects, and then everything else starts contouring. And that's, makeup helps a lot, but you have to show those pictures, because just looking at you in an office and seeing you is not going to tell the story for somebody who's going to hire you as a model or take you on and represent you. So this is a representation business for acting and modeling. You must be represented to really get a job. Why? Agents get the breakdowns. They are the only ones, if they're licensed, they can order the breakdowns. You and I cannot get breakdowns. What are breakdowns? Breakdowns are from casting directors about jobs. We need a girl who is, I'm going to guess, 5'7", long dark hair, looks like she could be several different nationalities. So she's very marketable, brown eyes, right? Size, I don't know, whatever size you are, that would fit you. And then the agent would submit you, and then from there they'd submit your picture electronically from the computer, and then from there the casting director would decide who they want to call in and see. So you do, number one, you need pictures. You need something to go into an agent. A lot of agents today will only take submissions online. In some ways, technology is wonderful. In some ways, I think it's ruined the business. I mean, back in the day when I started, we didn't have all this technology. So you could go knock on doors and, you know, and have your agent make appointments for you, and you could get in to see the clients. And then you got to use your personality and connect with somebody and leave a good first impression. Now your pictures are the most important thing. It's going to be the most important thing that's going to get you an agent if you have to submit it online, which most of them, that's what they ask for. And it's going to be the most important thing that's when you do get an agent, so that you can get the casting director to call you in for an audition. So everything is done electronically today. So how do you get an agent? One, wherever you live, where do you live?
I live in the UK.
The UK, okay. So where you live, wherever you live in the UK, you need to go online and see the agents that are there, right? And then you need to find out whether they have something called open calls. Open calls, a lot of the agents do them once a month or once every other month. Go to the open call. Do not go to the open call until you have a portfolio or an iPad. An iPad, you can load your pictures up onto an iPad, and they can just go like this and look at them that way. And that way you don't have to pay for the expensive prints for the book. But eventually you will need a portfolio. But an iPad is fine for starting out. But you have to go in with at least 6 to 8 good pictures, a beginning. A good portfolio to start is 10 good pictures. And they can't just be all headshots. They've got to be varied. You know, like I said, lead the agent and the casting director towards where they can book you. Are you sophisticated, high, you know, sophisticated model? Are you more of an athletic model? You want to guide them towards what your package of where you would work. So you have to take a good look at yourself and decide that. I would think that, where you are in the program that you're in, there's guidance towards that. To say, okay, I think that you're more of an athletic type, more casual. I don't see you as the sophisticated type yet because you're young. So, you have to decide whether you are a bathing suit model or not a bathing suit model, all of these things. So open calls, first Google, find out all the agents, read about them. Then after you Google, you need to find out if they do open calls. If they do open calls, then as long as you're prepared with some pictures, go to the open calls and meet with them and then see what happens. But technology has kind of ruined the deal of really being able to just show up and knock on doors. It just doesn't happen that way anymore. Okay. So what I want to do now, and I will do some more question and answers later, but I don't want to run out of time and not be able to give you some really good tips on Runway. So I have to turn this heat down. Okay, so I'm going to show you a runway walk and talk to you about the important points of doing a runway. So always when you begin, you want to present yourself. You don't want to just stand there like this and then they say walk for me and then you start. First of all, you want to be lifted through the rib cage. You want to take these shoulder blades and pull them back, pull them together, which will put your shoulders in place. Okay, so do you see the difference between this and this? All right, I'm not saying just pull your shoulders back. I'm saying pull your shoulder blades back there together, which will make everything go in place. Now, when you begin, you should begin in some kind of a pose, and this is called an open stance. So a hand either in the pocket or on the hip. For the guys, I suggest a hand in the pocket. For the girls, I suggest a hand on the hip. Elbow should not be forward, it's pulled back. Okay, and this hand is down, it's not close to the body. I already explained that. You need some air in between. Then you walk. When you walk, one foot goes in front of the other, and then you do the same pose at the bottom. So in real time, because I just kind of did it in slow motion, in real time, you want to walk, and pose. Now, at the bottom of the runway, this is the most important place for you as a model to get booked again. And the reason is because you have something called Getty images. I don't know what they're called overseas, but here in the United States, it's the main photographer who, when they send everything out across all platforms, it has like Getty images written at the bottom, across the body. And it's important because you know that it's going across all social media and out to every media platform that there is. When you get a Getty image in the United States, and some girls and guys get it and some do not, and there's a reason for it, which I'll get to in a minute. But the Getty images, basically every designer who has a model that gets a Getty image, it's free advertising because it's going over all media platforms. Therefore, they say, oh, that model, she got 3 Getty images. She had 3 changes in the show, and each one she got a Getty image. Or this model got 2. That's very valuable. And they'll hire you over and over and over again because they know you know how to work the press box, which you're up on the runway, down in the pit. that's where all the photographers and the videographers are. So what happens to a lot of models is they freeze when they get down to the bottom of the runway. All the lights are hitting them. They see all the people and they get frightened. They just turn around and go back. So that's not what I want you to do. You've got to take your moments when you're at the bottom of the runway. So when you get down to the bottom of the runway, these are the ones that don't get a Getty image. There's no time for a photographer to even focus on you. You know, you're turned around and walking back before they ever get to focus on you. So it should be, you know, pose 1, hold it. Pose 2, hold it. Pose 3, and then kick it off and go back up to the top. Okay, so very important what you do at the bottom of the runway. Now there are other things that you can do at the bottom of the runway other than what I just did. I mean, you can step out, you can turn back. There are a lot of different things, but there's not enough time for me to teach you all of this, which remind me at the end so I can give you, if you want to take classes, that I can actually give you my information so that we can do that. So really, when you get to the bottom of the runway, even if you only do one pose, make sure you hold it. And it's as if you're posing in a photo studio. When you get to the bottom of the runway, it's like you're posing in a photo studio and getting your shot. Make sure your face is aligned with what you're wearing. I'm very casual today, so, you know, a smile would be nice. Flirting would be nice. If I were in a evening gown, and I'm going to just pretend like I'm in an evening gown, and I get to the bottom, I would be in a closed stance. And the attitude on the face and everything aligns with, you know, an evening gown. You know, if you're a guy, you know, and you've got muscles and you've got like a shorter shirt on, you might want to do something like this to kind of flex a little bit. And then just bring your arms down and do a turn. And it's all about what's going on, the attitude on the face. So I suggest 3 poses at the bottom of the runway. That's what I suggest. If it's a guy, it can be very simple. Pose 1, pose 2, turn, start walking, leave your head with the audience. You want to bring always the audience with you. You don't want to do this. 1, 2. You see how I just cut you off? But if I do 1, 2, I'm taking you with me. You see the difference? Same with the girls. Pose 1, pose 2. It's called a head delay. You're delaying your head. You're bringing the audience with you. Okay, does everybody get that? Does anybody have a question about that?
I actually have 2 questions, if that's okay. The first one is tattoos. Are they an issue when it comes to modeling and stuff like that, or are they sometimes a niche kind of requirement?
Tattoos?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, tattoos are accepted more on men than on women. I have seen designers who will say no tattoos, or they have to be covered. The problem with covering tattoos is that the makeup many times comes off on the clothes. And so designers will just say, that ruins my clothes, I don't want it. You know, it just depends on whether you're working with a couture designer or not. When it comes to bathing suits, sometimes, you know, some brands like that look because it's actually what's happening in our society. You know, it's something that's happening. So you're going to hit and miss with tattoos. Some people won't care. Other people will just say no, none at all. Girls, I suggest you do not get tattoos anywhere that it would show. You know, couture, if you go to Paris and Milan and you're working for high-end designers, they're not going to want tattoos, being in an evening gown and showing tattoos all over your shoulders and your hands, and they just don't want it. So it depends on how far you want to go with your career. And the truth is, if you want to be a top model, internationally, you have to work the international markets. If you live in the United States, you have to work Paris, Milan, London. You have to travel. Traveling, once you get to be of an age, legal age, 18, 21, it's necessary to travel to become a top model, and also work in New York. So that's the answer to that, Mark. And then you had another question?
Yeah, I suppose the other one is about smiling. You mentioned smiles or flirtatious kind of gestures.
Oh, yes. Okay, so this
How
will be
do you perfect your smile without looking like you're chewing a wasp?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so here's a trick. Okay, so many times when people go to smile, and they want it to be happy, and your nerves are getting at you a little bit because you're the center of attention. The best thing to do is to take your tongue and put it on, like, not the roof of your mouth, but right under the front teeth, like there, and smile. It makes your smile look real instead of like this. How some people, you say smile, goes fake. Just put your tongue, you can even put it on the roof of your mouth, it's almost better. And smile. Thanks. It opens your face up, and it also stops your lips from quivering. Sometimes that happens when you're nervous. Okay, so that's a little trick. Now, when I said for you, there, look at those beautiful smiles with everybody trying. That's very good for print also. So sometimes you get tired when you're doing print, and the photographer will say, okay, smile. And it's like, you're tired, you've been doing this all day, and you just can't bring it up again. And so that's the good thing to use. I'm going to show you me modeling. I've showed you some things. The attention on the clothes. Some designers want no hip movement because they want just everything on the clothes. That's more European than it is American. That's done more in Europe than it is in the United States. However, the way to bring yourself to life in front of a camera and on the runway is to have a word in your head. So this is the difference between, why are some models supermodels and some models are just, not known, never become known. The supermodels know these tricks, and it makes you jump off the page. Modeling is very difficult because you can't speak, you can't clap your hands, you can't, all these things that you can do as an actor, moving around and expressing yourself and doing, you can't, and use your voice and your body. The only thing you can do, you use your body in modeling to stop, start, and move inside the clothing. And you can use your face for attitude, but you can't do all, it's very difficult to become a top model because you're so limited in the things that you can do. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to put a word in my head, and then first I'm going to walk with no word in my head, and then I'm going to do it with a word in my head. And you're going to see the difference on my face And when you have a word in your head, your body also moves differently. So here's with no word in my head. Now I'm going to do it with a word in my head. Did you see the difference? The eyes light up. There's a lift in the face. There's a different movement in the body. So I was flirting. Flirting is a really good one to use because it, everybody understands it. Everybody understands. Guys understand how to flirt with a girl. Girls understand how to flirt with a boy. And basically, you put that in your head, and all of a sudden, you're alive, and your body moves differently. So you can put sophistication in there. You can put happy. You can put sexy. You can put macho for a guy, macho for a guy. Let me do a guide, a macho guy. So that's kind of me doing a guide, because guys don't walk one foot in front of the other. So the word in your head is really good. The smile, tongue at the roof of your mouth, right? Another little trick. Getty images. I'm just reviewing now. At least 2 poses, if not 3 at the bottom, and it can just, and they're minor. They're not this and this, it's the same with print. Everything is minor. It's minor changes along with the attitude. It's shifts of weight. Okay. All right. I'll take one more question, and then I want to go into some things about print.
Yes, for the face structures for people, there's diversity in different kind of ethnic people coming in for modeling. So when you're getting your portfolio done, how important is it for wannabe models to get their hair straight, hair colored their hair, or is that doable?
Yes, there's varied ethnicities. Okay. What you want to do is not try to go against who you are. If you have wavy hair, right, go with the wavy hair. If it's easy to straighten, you might want to try to straighten it or just pull it back. But don't go against what makes you unique. Everybody has something unique about them. We're all different. Don't go against your ethnicity, go with it. Black girls who have a lot of hair, they go with it. And it's to try to straighten it is just put a wig on. I mean, for those girls, because when it's beautiful and it's full like that, that makes them unique, and that's their unique look. Like this girl, right? She has huge hair, and her hair gets her work. I've seen her try to straighten it and be something she isn't, and it just doesn't work. Right? They go to somebody else if they need that. But when they want you, they want you. I do recommend, if you do not know how to do your own makeup or your own hair, that you have somebody there who can do it for you. But usually, you know how to work with your own hair. But makeup is a little bit different story. If you don't know how to do your makeup, you should be going to Macy's and sitting down and have somebody, how they do your makeup on, and then they try to sell you products. just go and let them do it and watch what they're doing. Sephora does this too, where you can sit. It doesn't cost you any money unless you buy something, and just see what they do. Tell them you're going to go to the prom and you want to see how they do your makeup or something. And the learn what colors they're doing, right? Because I don't see any of you young girls with big red lips. You know, you need to be more natural. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, and a quick question: is there an age limit for adult modeling for runway?
There really isn't. Like I was saying, I've trained little ones at 4 years old, all the way on up. There are teen shows. You have to look for, you know, where they're being done, but there's back to school fashion shows. So there really isn't an age limit. The sooner you start and the more experience you get, the better off you're going to be when you get to be legal age, where you can start traveling. And, you know, you don't want your first fashion show to be when you're 18. It should have happened before. I mean, for me, it didn't, but because I came from this little farm town, I mean, my whole life was about cows and pigs and horses, right? When I was growing up. So there wasn't any outlet for me to learn runway until I was like, I think I was 19 or 20 or 21 even. So I had a kind of a late start, but you guys are in this now and you're in the program. You should be looking for opportunities, even if they don't pay. You know, just you're going to learn. And why should somebody pay you if you've never done it before? Maybe you should just do it for free. And then eventually, you know, people will hire you, but you need to get some experience. So do it for free in the beginning if you have to. Okay, so let me just check time here. All right, so I want to cover a little bit about print, and then I'll stop and I'll just do question answers, okay? And then I'll give you my information as well. So this is something all of you could do. I don't know if you all had space to walk, but this is something that you all can do right where you are. So I'm going to talk about it first, then I'll have everybody stand up and do it. So for print, a lot of people, when they do print and they're new at it, they think you've got to keep moving every single time the camera clicks and there's a flash. They think you've got to keep moving, okay? And that's not true. First of all, there's usually a mark that the photographer wants you to stand on. That mark is there for a purpose. It's so that you don't go out of focus. So if all of you will just go like this right now and look at me, make it like you're a camera. Just do this. Okay, let me see everybody do that. Okay, now I'm on my mark, and if I pose, all of you should be able to see me. But if I go off my mark and go over here, you can't see me unless you follow with your like this. And if I'm on my mark and I do this, my hands are going to be cut off. So you want to stay on your mark, and there's usually a place the photographer will mark it on the seamless paper or on a floor with a little piece of tape. So now you're on your mark, and I want you to pretend that around your feet is a clock, okay? A big clock. So right now, can everybody see me full length? Let me just put this down a little bit so you can maybe see me better. Okay, can you all see me full length? I think so. So let's just say that both my feet right now are pointed at 12 o'clock, and I have like a clock around me. So my one foot has to stay on the mark. So that's going to be this leg is on my mark. So my other foot is able to go to 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, which makes me do a weight change. So now my back foot is at 6 o'clock and the front foot is at 12 o'clock. And you don't want to have your knee locked. You always want to bend it a little bit. Then it's about the upper part of your body. What do you do with your hands? I suggest, let's everybody pretend they have a pocket. So the first pose will be, and just the other hand down, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Now I just did 3 poses without going crazy. And I would, even at 1 o'clock, I would start changing my face. I wouldn't even move. 1 o'clock, and the photographer says, stay with that. So then you smile. You do a 3/4 shot with the chin down, smile. Maybe now you're going to cross your arms, smile. Now I just did either 3 or 4 shots. So I want everybody to do this with me. And you're not going to do any big movement. You're only going to have your foot at 1 o'clock and bend your knee. So we start with one hand in the pocket, 1 foot on the mark, and we take the 1 foot and put it at 1 o'clock. Okay, so we're here. Look straight ahead, put your tongue at the roof of your mouth and smile. So here, it's 1. Turn your head, look down a little bit, but look at the camera, smile. That's 2. Cross your arms, smile. That's 3. Bring your head straight on again, smile. That's 4. Now I want you to step back all the way behind your foot at 6 o'clock, and you do the same thing. Smile. Turn your head, smile. Cross your arms, smile. Bring your head forward, smile. You just did 10 shots, okay? Every one of those shots should be good because you're not doing this. And nothing is sinking. Your face, your arms, and your feet all have to sink. So you get into one spot and then start working your head and then eventually work your arms. I mean, there are other things you could do with your arms too. You can also do these things. So it's going to take practice, and I want you to work in front of a mirror. And when you put your hand on your hip, don't do this. Don't make this, the wrist needs to be broken and the elbow needs to be back. Not this. Break the wrist and back. Okay? So, and we only worked with a smile. You know, we can work with other things like being tough or being sophisticated, you know, all the different looks. But I don't suggest, you know, you moving everywhere, you know, trying to constantly be moving and think you're going to get a shot, because the idea when you shoot with a photographer is to make every single photo count. Okay, so that you have, and they're minor changes, so that you have a lot of choices instead of just hoping that you get one. Okay, so let's do it again together. All right, one leg on the mark. Girls, you can either put your hand on your hip. I'm doing it in the pocket here. The other foot at 1 o'clock, pointing at 1 o'clock. The knee is bent, and how to bend the knee is to lift the heel off the floor and put the toe at 1 o'clock and just relax and but also be lifted. Your postures, you don't want to be like this. You want to be lifted. And then we're going to smile. We're going to put our tongue at the top of roof of our mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go back to 6 o'clock. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you could turn if you had pockets and go 5, 6, clothing, you got pockets, you got a belt, all the things that you could do with the look like that I have on. Okay, so let me just check time again. Okay, so now we have a little bit of time here that I can give you. Okay, so now I want questions. Anything about the posing?
Hi, I was just wondering, I have 3 questions, if that's okay?
Sure.
Okay, so first, when you're doing stuff for your portfolio or resume, or I forgot a specific word for that, should you edit those photos or should you leave them on blank? Because I know that when you do go to certain places, they will edit your photos, but when you have your own resume or like your own thing, should you edit those or should you leave them so people can see how you like truly look? Does that make sense?
You're talking about retouching versus editing. Yes, always, the photographer who takes your pictures usually offers in a photo shoot to do so many retouched. And yes, take the retouching. I mean, sometimes the hair will come across and they can get rid of those hairs. Sometimes there's funny hairs up here, that happen from breakage. Let them take care of that. If there's a shadow under the eye or something, yeah, let them take care of that. You should find the picture in the photo shoot that you did, what you like, and then you should have it not airbrushed or done, edited, not edited, but retouched to the point that you're irrecognizable, but retouched just to, to help along. Like the whites of your eyes sometimes can get red and, they can just make that white, just make little enhancements. Yes, you should do that. Okay. What's your second question?
Second question is, how long do you take to pose when you're like walking down the walkway thing? Like, because I don't want to take overtime of some people who might be behind me, but I just don't know how many seconds like should you then, take the pose.
Oh, you mean at the bottom of the runway?
Yeah.
Okay. So normally they don't send people out that are going to be on your heels that quickly. So, pose 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 1,000, 2, 1,000. It's not a lot of time, but it gives the photographer enough time to get focused, on 1,000, 2, 1,000, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 1,000, 2, 1,000. And you say it relatively quickly, but you're not going from here to here, right? You see, there's time. Just count in your head 1,000, 2, 1,000, 1,000, 2, 1,000. You'll be fine. And the person behind you, they are not sending them out that quickly. Unless it's a very short runway. If it's a very short runway, then you might only be able to do 2 poses. Okay. Any other? Was that your last question?
My last one is, would you recommend for someone to have their hair up or down? Because that's how it looks more naturally. But then if your hair looks better, like when it's half up, half down, would you go for that one? Like,
you should have a variety of photos in your book that look the way you like your look to look, your hair to look. If you look really good with it pulled back, some half up, some half down, do some pictures like that. If it looks just great down, then do some down. Have a variety so that people can actually see your bone structure and see what's going on with your face. Okay. And you do it in different clothes, maybe half up, half down would be better for something more casual. I don't know. Maybe it's better for something more sophisticated. You'll have to just see what the clothes look like and then see, if it needs to go all the way up, and be like that for something very sophisticated or more casual, just let it flow. You'll decide, or the people you're working with will help you decide.
My question would be, Each hand is on the hip. Hand is on the hip. Yeah.
Good question. Yes. Okay. So, yes, it does make a difference. Okay. So let me just put this up a little bit more. All right. So when you're, let's see. Okay. No, I don't have my umbrella here. So when you're inside, you know how the umbrellas, we do have this umbrella. Let me just use this. Inside, there's usually an umbrella, right? And the light is inside the umbrella. I'm sure all of you have seen that. I'm just using a regular umbrella like it's raining outside. But you want to work towards the light. So if you got your left foot, I've got my left foot on the mark so that I can look to the right. And then I've got my right leg popped because I'm looking towards the light. Now, if it was on this side, I would probably do it the other way. This one would be on the mark and my other leg would be popped because I'd be looking towards the light this way. So when you get light from the photographer, you get light from the flash here, and then down on the bottom here is fill light. A fill light, kind of lights your feet and your legs, but this lights your face. So if you were to turn here, you're not getting any light. You just go in shadow. So you want to make sure you always work towards the light when you're in a studio. When you're not in a studio and you're outside, it's a totally different thing because then they use reflectors to bounce the light up onto your face. And it's more even outside light. Inside is all artificial, so they have to light the bottom, they have to light your face, and then you also have a light coming from the camera here. Sometimes you have a small fill light over here, but you want to work towards the big umbrella light. That's where you get the most. So, yes, angle of the body will make a difference because you want to work towards the light. Usually when you begin to walk and when you stand, everybody's pretty much, it's a right-handed world. I'm left-handed, so I had to learn how to always have my right foot forward when you pose in a closed stance. And a closed stance, you don't want to be like this, you want it to be closed. Like for bathing suits, for evening gowns, you use a closed stance. For more like jeans, palazzo pants, you use an open stance.
Would you be so kind and just take one step back so I can see where your feet are at? Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank
Can
you.
you see now?
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, so this is a closed stance where, for bathing suits, you don't want to have your legs open. And for evening gowns, you want to be more sophisticated. If you have a slit in your evening gown, you might want to, put the leg out a little bit and turn the ankle. And for sporty things, this is an open stance. This is more for palazzo pants and jeans, things like that. Pencil skirts, you would be in a closed stance. So yeah, where your feet are placed does mean something.
All right. Thank you, Susan. Much appreciate your time today. Thank you for sharing all that great information with us. I hope you guys took down notes. We're going to actually cover questions now. I know that you guys joining me here live today, you might have a lot of questions about what she talked about or anything industry related. Let me know what questions you guys have, and we will open it up here for you. I'm excited. It's good to see you guys. I see some familiar faces and I see some new faces on here as well. So let's dive in and let's get started. I'm going to call on my first performer here for their first question. Let me just stop my recording though first.